Welcome back. Today we are looking at a particularly sharp exchange between Representative Chuy Garcia and Attorney General Pam Bondi. In this clip, Representative Garcia uses his time to deliver a searing critique of the Department of Justice, characterizing its actions in very stark, ideological terms. But watch how Attorney General Bondi responds. Instead of engaging in a shouting match over the specific policy accusations, she waits for her moment and pivots to a specific controversy regarding Representative Garcia's own political career. It is a fascinating case study in how Washington officials use different tactics, rhetoric versus procedural details, to try and win the moment. Subscribe to my channel and let's watch.
Illinois is recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Attorney General Bondi, glad you finally made it here after hiding for 4 months from this committee. I understand why you're hiding from us.
Chairman?
You're one of the worst attorney generals in our history and an instrument of Donald Trump's lawless authoritarian agenda, and I'm glad the American people are seeing who you are, how you act, and the lack of good values. You weaponize the Department of Justice to target immigrants, working families, and anyone that Trump deems an enemy of the state, all to protect real powerful criminals, including in your administration. My Democratic colleagues have focused on your cover-up of the Epstein files and your passion for protecting pedophiles and child traffickers. That alone is grounds for impeachment. But there's so much more to your corrupt tenure as Attorney General. You directed prosecutors to investigate elected officials in welcoming jurisdictions, and you got thrown out of court when you sued Chicago, Cook County, and Illinois. You directed prosecutors to prioritize low-level immigration cases while gutting enforcement against corporate criminals and public corruption. You revived draconian law of 1798, which should be repealed to illegally send people to a torture prison in El Salvador. You fired over 100 immigration judges, including the assistant chief immigration judge in Chicago, without cause, and installed unqualified military judges whom you instructed to deny asylum in violation of the law. You prosecute the president's enemies like Jim Comey and Tish James while giving impunity to federal agents who are murdering and brutalizing and terrorizing constituents, including in Chicagoland, in my neighborhood. I saw it last year firsthand. You and Kash Patel covered up the murder of Silverio Villegas Gonzalez in my district by ICE agents. You tried to investigate Renee Good instead of the ICE agent who murdered her, and you tried to cover up the murder of Alex Peretti by CBP agents. You bring fake charges against protesters like the Broadview Six and Marimar Martinez, whom your administration labeled a domestic terrorist. This is the Montessori teacher who lives in my district, while protecting thugs who terrorize us and DHS authority. That's what you do. Protect and enable the criminals who are plundering our society and destroying what's left of democracy and the rule of law. Epstein accomplices, mass DHS thugs, corporate criminals, Tom Homan, Eric Adams, insurrectionists, the list goes on. And you talk about fighting crime, but you protect any criminal who helps you and Trump turn our country into an authoritarian gangster state. And after all this, nobody supports you.
Authoritarian gangster state. That is incredibly strong language. Representative Garcia is clearly aiming to frame the current Justice Department not just as a political opponent, but as fundamentally illegitimate. By using terms like gangster state and protecting criminals, he is signaling to his constituents that he views the administration's actions as a systemic breakdown of the rule of law. It's a rhetorical strategy designed to rally opposition, but it also highlights the immense gap in how the two parties view the role of the DOJ right now. To Garcia, these are existential threats. To Bondi's supporters, this likely sounds like standard political theater. The polarization here is palpable.
I'm not talking about Democrats. I'm talking about conservative judges who are condemning the rampant lawlessness at DOJ under your leadership. Your prosecutors are quitting in droves over being forced to prosecute low-level immigration cases, including in Chicagoland. Your MAGA base despises you because you're covering up the Epstein file. How ironic. And even your own boss has repeatedly complained to your staff about you, calling you weak and ineffective. Weak and ineffective. That's what Donald Trump thinks of you already. You will not win, however. Chicagoland rejects you. The American people reject you. Our communities have demonstrated our strength and resilience in the face of cruelty and cowardice. Democrats must impeach and remove lawless officials like you and Kristi Noem and impose accountability for every criminal action. But you can spare yourself more humiliation. Resign now and submit yourself to accountability by the American people. Mr. Chairman, before I yield back, I ask unanimous consent to submit for the record this Wall Street Journal article dated January 12, 2026, entitled, "Trump has complained about Pam Bondi repeatedly to aides." Thank you, and I yield back.
Objection. Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
I thank the chairman.
May I have 20 seconds, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Let's hear the opposition research.
Thank you. That's absolutely right, that they're not running for, he's not running for office again because, well, I don't know why you're not running for office again, but after the filing deadline, you publicly announced you would not run when your chief of staff, Patty Garcia, announced and took your seat.
That's a state matter. That isn't a federal matter. You should investigate crimes.
You
should investigate
time belongs to the gentleman
violations
from
of the law.
Texas. The time belongs to the gentleman from Texas.
And there is the strategic counterpunch. Attorney General Bondi effectively sidesteps the ideological debate and targets a specific political maneuver. She is referencing the controversy around Representative Garcia's retirement, where he announced he wouldn't run again after the filing deadline had passed. In political strategy, this is often a tactic used to clear the field for a hand-picked successor, in this case, his chief of staff, preventing a competitive primary. By raising this, Bondi is subtly questioning his standing to criticize Democratic norms. It's a savvy move. She neutralizes his high-level attacks by dragging the conversation down to the nuts and bolts of local political maneuvering.